everything. We are fortunate in that we can go into our office because there's nobody there. And the practice owner, she owns the entire office building. So sometimes I'll go in just to kind of get out of the house and my kids can go in the conference room and work. But no, seeing clients, everything is being done virtually. So, all right. Hi, guys. It's Katie from KDM Counseling Group. And I am joined today by the CEO of CASA. I will let her kind of introduce herself. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. My name is Lariana Forsyth, and again, I'm the CEO of CASA, which is an acronym for Community Action Stops Abuse, located in Pinellas County, Florida.
Thank you so much for being here, Lariana. So today, we just want to talk about domestic violence and the impact of what the COVID-19 is having on domestic violence. In your experience, or what you guys are seeing, are you seeing an influx of calls coming into your hotlines? Are you hearing, victims coming, wanting to come in, needing help?
So it's really interesting what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a huge call volume. So we're up about 40% of our hotline calls versus this time last year. These are folks that are really looking for information about domestic violence and specifically about safety planning. As we're in self-isolation, if somebody has power and control tendencies, they're exacerbated by being in isolation. And so we're seeing a lot of people asking for help and how to be safer in that environment. We're also seeing simultaneously less people requesting shelter right now. I think, there's a lot of fear about what that could mean, and maybe that might seem more dangerous than cohabitating with somebody who is dangerous. And so that's kind of an interesting dynamic. So it's the calls that we are getting to that are looking for shelter are really high lethality calls. So there's some certain indicators that cause us great concern when we hear from survivors. If there's a gun in the home, if a gun has been pulled on somebody within the household, if there's been any sort of strangulation, those are signs of high lethality. And we've seen across the U.S. Those high lethality cases have pretty much doubled in the time period from January to now as they were last year, the murder-suicides. And there's a lot of parents murdering their children as well as their spouses. And so what we're seeing is just really, really serious stuff.
That's really not good to hear at all. And for all of us that are watching this, a lot of people are safe at home and they're getting a little stir crazy, but it's perspective to realize that not everybody is safe at home, so if we're safe at home, even though we may be bored and wanting to get out and back to normal, it's something that we can definitely appreciate hearing what you're saying. So what would you tell people, like our viewers, what is something that they can do if they are noticing signs of, their neighbors hearing things that just don't sound right, because now that people are home more, they are hearing those things. What is something that they can do?
It's really being aware about your neighbors. I mean, if there's somebody in your neighborhood that isn't coming outside, I mean, everybody's out walking right now and trying to spend time outside. If there's somebody who's not doing that, if there's some interesting differences about a home, pay attention. If there's noises coming from the home, maybe offering, if you feel like somebody is in danger, to let them know, hey, if you are experiencing something and you feel unsafe, move a plant into your window. I'll know to be able to call for help if I see that plant. So just being hyper aware, friends and neighbors can call our hotline as well to help build a safety plan that if they do see something happening, that they can assist. And of course, if something just really doesn't look right and sounds scary, call the police. That's what they're here to do. They're seeing an increased volume in domestic violence calls, but they are here to help during this time. So please do give them a call if something seems out of line and scary.
Okay, that's great advice that you just gave about kind of reaching out to somebody and having like a signal of some sorts, put a plant in the window, or that's excellent advice. That's just kind of a very kind of secretive way that somebody doesn't have to scream for help, but they can still, at the same time, they are screaming for help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, another thing is a secret code word or something like that. Just because we're physically distancing doesn't mean that we need to social distance. So just keeping in touch with people and having those conversations and creating those kinds of safety plan in amongst ourselves is really helpful.
Great. Yeah, and you mentioned, unfortunately, the domestic violence against children is kind of on the rise. And that's probably because they're not at school.
Correct.
Peers aren't recognizing things, they're home all the time. So yes, to be hyper vigilant, to be very aware of the children. Like you said, if everybody is out in the neighborhood and there's one family, then children never come outside, just to kind of be more aware, and kind of take little proactive steps. But that's great. I was not aware that family and or friends, neighbors could also call your hotline. So that's an excellent tip, that people, if they feel like they shouldn't kind of call the police yet, but there's just something not quite right, that they could reach out to you guys and maybe get some guidance on what to do.
Yeah, and we do have a resource that I can send over to you too, and it's kind of a resource list of what do I do if I suspect that something is
Okay,
going on. It just has some tips that we can
that's
provide.
great. Yeah, we'll post it along with this so that everybody can access that. And I know that you guys offer so many services to the community. What is something that us that are at home can do for you guys? What are you needing right now? Is your shelter in need? What can we do to be proactive and to help you guys?
You know, talking about recognizing it in the community, but also talking about it, because one of the problems that domestic violence has, right, is that people don't know what domestic violence is. Domestic violence doesn't start with somebody physically abusing someone. There's a lot of other things that happen, power and control wise, before it becomes physical in most cases. And so spreading information about domestic violence. Domestic violence doesn't discriminate. It's not a low income issue. It doesn't, it's not more prevalent in one race or socioeconomic status, sexual orientation. It does not discriminate at all. So the more information that we can share about domestic violence and how it really starts, which is power and control. Isolation is usually how domestic violence starts. The perpetrator will get their victim to isolate from their family and friends. So as we're isolating now with COVID, this is a really great tactic for abusers to be able to control their victims more, and telling them that they can't leave. In our stay-at-home order in Florida, there was no provision for domestic violence survivors. So if the order says that you need to stay at home and your abuser is saying you need to stay at home, you're going to be scared to do something otherwise. So we need to make sure that everybody is informed about what options are out there about their local domestic violence center, and that they can call for help, they can call to build the safety plan, and that there are resources available for them, like shelter should they need it, but a whole host of other kinds of programs that are available during this time too. And I know I'm starting to ramble here. I just want to a few of them. Again, our advocates are here to safety plan. We have free injunction for protection attorneys that are still working virtually with the court system to get those injunctions in place if somebody needs to leave. We have shelter. We have ways to get people rehoused either in our own community or other communities. So there's lots of different ways that we can help somebody who's experiencing domestic violence at this time. And, sometimes it's not the right time to leave. One of the issues with domestic violence is the most lethal time to leave in a situation is when somebody tries to leave. So we need to make sure that we're honoring the victims and survivors of domestic violence, and giving and letting them know that we know that they know what the safest choice for them is going to be. And sometimes that's staying, and sometimes that's leaving, and honoring them in that choice, that they can make that choice given the dynamics of what's happening at any given time.
Great. Thank you so much. That is wonderful information. And I think you're right. The biggest thing is to talk about it. I know you guys have like a campaign of stand up to silence, and that's exactly what it is. The victims and even survivors can't talk about it. So the community needs to really step up during this time. A huge light is being shed on domestic violence, and that's why I'm doing this interview, to get the word out there. So just to make everybody more aware. Is there any need that you guys have from the community in your shelter as far as donations or anything else that you guys are in need of right now?
Yeah, I mean, shelf-stable food is always really important. We have an Amazon wish list that you can access either through our social media or on our website. Personal supplies, shampoos, all of those kinds of things, those are all on the wish list. Another thing that we have recently launched is yard signs that has information on how to call CASA's hotline. And so we're asking for folks to put those in their yard so that people have access to the information.
So how can we just go on your website or on social
Go
media?
on our website. Yep. Yep. And
Okay.
they're available for purchase. And then we have a safety way to pick them up at our downtown office location. You can just pull up, we'll load them in your car for you. And if you can put them in your lawn, that would be really great.
That is awesome. How much are the signs?
Ooh.
It's all right. We'll look. I'll look on the website. I love that idea. I think it's fantastic. I want to get some. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here and speaking with me, Lariana. I really appreciate it. What you guys do at CASA is amazing. You inspire me every day. I'm hoping that it's shedding more light on exactly what you guys do and how necessary your services are, so that the community is really aware of what's going on in the community and in their neighbors' homes, in their families' homes, and that you guys are there to help.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.